Yo, what is up guys? I ended up getting rid of one of my motorbikes. Without further ado, this is the bike that I've opted to keep. That's right, the CBR650R has unfortunately been sold. And this is what remains, the mighty Ninja 400. Alright, we've just picked up a relay from the Kawasaki store. Today we're going to be talking about why I chose the Ninja 400 over my CBR650R. Now, I don't regret selling the CBR at all, but I will say I'm a little sad about it. Why is that? I mean, I've had to sell a few bikes in my time, I'm no stranger to it. The day oneers will remember my GSF 250V and my R3. If you've seen those bikes on this channel, then you are a true OG. Those bikes were the foundation of gutter rash rides. They were what kicked off my riding journey. But the reason the CBR hits a bit different is because it's part of the Gutter Rash Rides brand name. Let's be real, a strong majority of you who are subscribed to me would have found me through either the Ninja 400 or the CBR. These bikes took me from 400 subscribers all the way to where we are today, which is around 3K. So it stings a little, that's for sure. It's not like I had some pressing circumstances that forced my hand and created a situation in which I had to get rid of one of my bikes. I wasn't short on money, I wasn't short on space. It's not like I bought a new bike and needed to get rid of one of them quickly. One of my biggest goals in terms of my motorcycling journey is to experience as much variety as possible. So getting rid of one of these bikes aligned with that. But let's get into why it ended up being the CBR. We're going to start things off by talking about what it is the CBR can do that the Ninja 400 cannot. And the most obvious one is that sensation of power, speed, and adrenaline. The 650R was a lamb's bike. So its sensation of power and torque was unparalleled compared to this little thing. That was a bike that you could just chuck it down a couple of gears, open up the throttle, and it would just rip. This bike it's fun. It's a 400 and it's got the sprocket upgrade in the rear. It's peppy, but it's no competition compared to the CBR. Secondly, the sound. The CBR has an inline 4. That thing sings. I've never been into my thumpers or my twins. I don't really care much for the rumbly sound. I think they're cool, but I much prefer that high-pitched jet engine scream that you get from an inline 4. And the CBR gave me that. This thing, on the other hand, sounds like a lawnmower. And that's something that'll never change, regardless of what exhaust setup you have on it. At the end of the day, it is a 180 parallel twin, and it's just gonna sound like it does. And finally, I'm gonna miss that big bike premium feel that the CBR had. It's worth twice as much as this bike, and it shows in all of the contact points, the display, the controls, the inputs. It just felt more premium. It's a bike that was well suited to hitting the twisties with your mates and finishing up at a cafe with that thing parked outside. It's cool. It's a cool bike, man. It's like, yes, it's learner approved, but let's be real, most of them are unlocked. Like, people know they're fast, you feel cool, it sounds cool, it looks cool. It's just got that oomph factor that the Ninja 400 kind of lacks. And that's about where all the good stuff ends. So now we'll move on to what it is the Ninja 400 does that the 650R does not, and pretty much why I ended up choosing this bike over the CBR. Like, the first and most obvious point is it just fits into my lifestyle so much better. Like, it's my daily commuter, and recently I've started tracking it. I've now done 2 track days on this bike. It's a better bike for everything I do. I will say the CBR is funner for those leisure rides that you take out into the hills with mates, but I do that once a month, maybe. Whereas commuting is something I do every week. So naturally this gets a lot more showtime. I think now that I've started, I'm going to place a bit more emphasis on track riding. Once you've been to the track and realized how much freedom and liberty you get to really rip your bike, the twisties just feel so tame in comparison, not to mention dangerous. And I just don't think the CBR is as good of a track bike for a beginner like myself. This thing is light, it's cheap, and the track that I go to is a very small technical track. The CBR is really heavy. It's not like fantastic for the corners compared to this. If I write this off on the track, I can just turn it into a dedicated track bike. The CBR, however, twice the price of this. That would hurt the wallet bad if I wrote that off on the track and couldn't get the money back through insurance, which you can't if you're on track. You can park it almost anywhere because of how light and small it is. I talked about how cool the CBR makes me feel compared to this bike, but the flip side of that is I am so much more precious about the CBR than I am with this bike. This is a bike that I'm happy to daily, and like I understand what the consequences of dailying a bike are. Like this was tipped over by a homeless guy in the city, and it stung, it sucked, but it would have hurt so much more if that was the CBR, not just emotionally but financially, because parts of that bike are way more expensive. So yeah, this is a bike that I'm less anxious about, I'm less precious about too. So there you have it. It just fits into my life so much better in terms of my motorcycling goals, in terms of how I ride my bikes, and what I do with them. Secondly, let's talk about cost. Now, I don't really care that much about the cost, which is why I'm not including this in the first point. This isn't a lifestyle choice for me. It's just a nice little cherry on top to having the Ninja 400 instead of the CBR. But it costs so much less to service, maintain, and run. I've mentioned it before, like I was shocked at how much fuel the CBR eats through compared to the Ninja 400, and that's because my past 3 bikes before the CBR are small, low cc bikes such as the 400. Like everything is just so cheap, and that in turn again reduces the anxiety I have about just doing shit to it. Like I don't mind trying to learn how to work on this bike. I ain't fucking waiting. Alright, this guy's blocked me. He wasn't trying to block me, he just wasn't paying attention. He was trying to switch into this lane. Yeah, I just feel like I've got so much more of a liberty to experiment on this bike. Oh, not to mention, like, I pay less in terms of registration, and oh my god, the insurance cost. This costs me half as much to insure as the CBR. Yeah, so everything is just so much cheaper. And like I said, that's not like a real obstacle for me in terms of my motorcycling journey. I'm in this not just for convenience. This isn't about getting from point A to B. It's also about how these machines make me feel. But I just think it's important to mention it because it's a big one. Well, there you have it, guys. That's a little glimpse into why I chose the Ninja 400 over the CBR. If you followed me on Instagram, you'd already know about this news. I had a few people message me after I put up a story announcing it. But what I did find really intriguing was people recognized the bike when I put it on Marketplace. As mentioned, I've sold like 2 or 3 bikes before, and that's never happened. So I had this kind of sense of like security or safety, I guess, in being invisible. But it's like, yeah, now people messaged me when I put the ad up on Marketplace, telling me that they'd be sad to see it go, and that, like, it warmed my heart. At first it was a bit scary, but it's so nice to see that gutter ash is at a place where that's something that happens. It's super cool. But yeah, anyway, go follow me on all my other socials. And you know, the CBR is gone, but you guys know me. I can't be without 2 bikes for long. So pitch in, let me know what you think I should get next. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. I will catch you on the next one.
You say you got them guns, but I've never seen you bang. You say you got them drugs, but I've never seen you slang.